Hello and welcome to this section. In this section, we continue to learn the practical explanation of the physical world and collision. An example we want to make in this course is our little game of aircraft war. First of all, let's take a look at the actual effect of such a small game of aircraft war. First, click the Start button here. When we click Start, we can find that there will be a meteorite landing on the upper side, and then a missile will be generated on the lower side. Then if the missile hits our meteorite, it will destroy such a meteorite. This is a process of launching a missile in our simple aircraft war game. Then, if we don't hit such a missile and our plane hit a meteorite, we can find that the full-screen missile and our meteorite are cleared, and then the plane returns to the default position. Let's click Start again. Similarly, if our plane hits one of our meteorites, it will start again in any case, and then the plane is controlled according to one of our gestures, that is, we can drag our plane to any position, and then if we hit one of our meals, the game is over. This is the initial effect of a large demo of our aircraft war game. Then on this basis, you can make, including whether you are timing games, or concentrated effective diet, or how many meals are concentrated in the specified time, etc., and so on. You can deepen part of the feature of such an application to make a series of small games of your own aircraft war. Then we will directly open our editor and start to make our aircraft war games. First, open our editor. The application name here is our aircraft war games, and then click to create the default environment. First of all, because we still use a collision effect there, we first add a page under the front end, add our canvas under the page, and then add our physical world in our canvas. This is actually what we do for us, whether it is a small game or a collision effect, which is a necessary precondition for us pieces. Then select our physical world, and let's make the most basic series of UI. First of all, let's take a look at the dynamic generation of a meteorite, and we can see that the falling speed of a meteorite is completely different, and it falls successively from top to bottom. What is very similar to this? Is it very similar to the other white blocks we made before? So first of all, we select our physical world and make a template of a meteorite, because for such an example, the meteorite must be generated continuously. We must create it through our trigger, and one of us like the other white blocks action, to dynamically generate a series of diet. And what is our first step when using our copy object? Do you want to create one of our templates? So, similarly, let's add one of our meteorites here, select a material of our meteorite and click Upload. We can design its width and height slightly and change it into a 40 of 40, and then produce our collision reaction, because we need it, our bullets and our aircraft, but when it comes to what should we add to our diet? Add our object, so let's add an object here. Because now our physical world has turned on autoplay, and it has set a vertical gravity, so when I preview, it will be affected by gravity, directly down, we can have a look at it. But let's think about it. It's such a diet that it falls down. It's okay. But because we still have to make our missiles, we have to have such a collision effect in the end. If the missile has gravity, it will fall down, right? Therefore, in such an environment, we should turn off the automatic playback of physical vision, even its vertical gravity. We can also set it to 0. At the beginning, such an object will not move at all, so how can we make it move? Some students may say that there is a speed in the vertical direction of a world in the object property here. We set the speed in the vertical direction at random. Then we can preview it and see that such an object has no movement at all. Why? You should not forget that we have turned off one of the automatically played attributes of our physical world. So, if an object is not in a physical world, what is the significance of setting a movement in a world-level direction for it? So here, we cannot use some of the settings in its movement settings, because the whole physical world is not in a physical world event. We are all closed, so what else can we do to make such a diet and exercise? Did we learn a widget called motion before? So we added a motion widget for such a meteorite, which is equivalent to doing a superposition. It is such a diet. It has one of our object property, and one of our motion property. This is what we mentioned before, in our object operation, we basically do addition. If we need any property, we can add the corresponding widget to it. In the corresponding widget, we can set a series of corresponding property for it. Then here, we can set a movement of it. First, we can play and delete one of its attributes automatically. Open it because we have opened it here in automatic deletion, so if it is moved outside our screen, it will automatically disappear and destroy such an object. So generally speaking, we will check such an auto-delete attribute, and we can write down any speed we like. Here, we will take a 450 pixel image, and then it will move in a direction that we have learned before. By default, it will move horizontally to the right, and then it will rotate anticlockwise. We want it to move vertically downward, so the speed direction here is we set it to a 90-degree angle, and then we'll take a look at one of the effects in the preview. We can see that now the meteorite will move down 1 second according to 450 items. After the preparation conditions are ready, we can set up an action group such as film and television. After the previous study, I believe that for any complex action, everyone now knows to use the object group for a simple package, so here we choose the name of our action group reform, which is our creation diet. Then when we start creating meteorites like this, what about it? First, its falling speed is random, and then its position is random. So, before we create it, we want to make a random analysis of our speed and one of our positions, so here, we add two numerical variables outside the canvas, one is called our speed random, and the other is our position random. Then we can take a rough look at its position. The position may be about 1. Let's start from here, that is, a 16 pixel position that reaches 16,357 on the right, so the position here is random. Let's do it. When the action starts, we let a numerical variable such as random position generate a random number, which is in a range of 15,357. Similarly, it also needs to have a random number of speed. On this side, you can make your own flexible deployment. On this side, I think a random speed can be carried out within a range of 300-600. It is more appropriate, and then after completing these two steps, we can do our object creation. What is the object selection for creating the object? It's any container component in the canvas. You can see that it can hold things in the physical world, right? So the physical world is also our container widget. We select our physical world and select an action called our creation object here. After creating the object, we need to select a template of a meteorite on our template side, and we have finished it. Then we can see what it has in the object we want to create. Difference value. Is the difference value in X? It's our difference value. So here in X, we choose a random value at one of our positions. For our meteorite, does it have sub-objects? We choose one of our motion as a sub-object. What is our difference value for motion? Is our moving speed the difference value? So we choose a random value for our speed in the moving speed. So what happens to our meteorite creation? We'll generate a random of our position and a random of our velocity. Then the two difference values will be dynamically generated, and then our template will be created, which is our whole meteorite. Of course, after such an action group is completed, it will not be triggered by us manually. Generally speaking, to trigger such a creative verbal action, what do we use to wait for the high frequency of the time interval, and what we will use? It is our trigger, right? So here we go to add our trigger widget, and we also change the name of this trigger to our generated meteorite. Then we can set a playback interval here. Let's set it casually here. Let's trigger an effect of one of our production films every 0.4 seconds. And then produce a trigger like meteorite, which has a trigger event, that is, when it triggers, what do we want it to do to perform an action group like our meteorite creation? So when did it trigger the formation of meteorites? Is it okay when we click on a red start below? Here we'll just pull one of our rectangles. The background color of the reform is our red. This is our beginning. So when we click start, we can trigger our start game and form a good habit here. We directly pull our action group on the canvas, which is our start game. In this way, the logic of our whole application will be very clear. When we click start game, what should we do here? First of all, is it necessary for us to start such a holding for a hiding? What else to do? Do we want to play a trigger like our Meteorite? Then we add an event for such a button. When it is clicked, it triggers our start game. Let's preview it. When I start, I can see that the Meteorite above starts to have a randomly generated effect. Then we do a good job of generating the Meteorite. The same for me, we will also do a good job in the following part of an aircraft. Then, what else is included in the aircraft group? Does it also include our missiles? So here we upload one of the missiles. Maybe in such a position, we choose such a missile. Then, because such a bullet can collide with a meteorite, what will such a bullet use to you? Is it possible to have one of our object properties? In addition, it is launched from bottom to top, so what is it from bottom to top? It is moving in the past, so we are adding a motion property to the bullet. Similarly, let's set a motion property of the bullet. If the speed of a missile is a fixed 300, then the direction. Let's look at the positive direction 270, and the negative direction? -90, so here we set it to 90, which is one of its directions, and then turn on the automatic play and automatic deletion. In this way, a bullet is generated. Can it be played online? Let's take a look. Such a bullet can be launched, but do we want to generate a bullet? Do we have to generate bullets continuously? So we also add an action group to the canvas and change the name to what? Call our survival bullets. Let's put the bullet generation and meteorite creation together, and then let's see what it does when it performs bullet generation. We have set the speed and the direction, so we can directly generate it. Here we can directly select the physical world and the aircraft group. This is just for the convenience of a demonstration. That is, any container widget under the painting has the creation object as a property. Why do you choose an aircraft group? An action to use it is called our creation object. Who is its template? Is the template a bullet like us? Then let's think about the difference value. The difference value is nothing more than a position generated by the bullet, that is, its x-coordinate and y-coordinate. So let's think about it. But what's the relationship between its x-y coordinates? Let's first think about who it moves with and whether it moves with our plane. So if he wants to form a bullet on the left side, that is, our current position, we can observe that one of its coordinates is 52 of 31, and the coordinates of such an aircraft are 25 of 18. We can give it the coordinates of the aircraft first, and then we can switch to our bullet. So first of all, the first point is that we will find its y-coordinate. If we want to be completely consistent with it, how much is the difference here? The difference here is 13, so the bullet on the left is its y-axis minus 13a. Knowing this, we can write down its first difference directly, that is, its y-axis is equal to one of the coordinates of the plane in our house, and its y-axis minus 13. What's the difference between its x-coordinate? X-coordinate. Does it make a bullet on the left and a bullet on the right? Because we can see if the bullet on the left is 27 higher than that on the plane, so when we go to generate bullet action group here, it is one of our airplanes, one of its x plus one of its 27. Similarly, we can see a coordinate on the right. The coordinate on the right is in almost such a position. Let's compare. The coordinate on the right is a distance higher than 80, so it's the same. Then this is the first bullet we generated, so if we say the second bullet, we'll copy and paste a copy, and change its 20g to an 80. In this way, can we complete one motion generated by one of the two bullets side by side? Do it. Then, similarly, we add another trigger under the canvas. What is this called? This is one of our generated bullets. Let's write down a play interval of the bullet randomly, for example, every 0.5 seconds to trigger. Then when such a generated bullet starts from such an action group, we will destroy this one, and do it when starting. Just call one of our action groups to generate bullets. Similarly, what happens when I click Start Game? At the beginning of the game, in addition to making us generate meteorites to play, what else should we do? Do you want us to generate a trigger-like bullet for a play? Then we will display the Start button, and then preview to see one of the effects. When I click, I can also see that bullets will be generated normally, and then diet will be generated normally. Then we will do the simplest step first, that is, how can we make the aircraft drag? This is very simple. We do not allow to change the gesture control to any direction. Then when we preview this case, we can go to any direction to control an effect of our aircraft. We can see, look, when I preview, I can also see that my plane can be dragged freely now, and then it will generate a bullet according to a position I drag. Next, we are going to do the collision effect. Whether it is our meteorite and bullet collision, or meteorite and our plane collision, it will have an effect of our collision. Similarly, whether it's himself or such an object he met, what do we do? All of them have been removed. Let's take a look at one of the effects. Next, let's preview it, right? You see, whether it's bullets or our meteorites, as long as they collide with each other, he will destroy each other, and then there will be no more. Besides, can our diet still hit our plane? In other words, our plane hit a meteorite. Since there are few planes, we should add an event to the plane. When we hit the meteorite, we will trigger an end game and form a good habit. Since there is an end game, we still add an action group here, called our end game. Then we can think about what we have to do if we end the game. First of all, the first point is that when it ends the game, whether we generate bullets or our meteorites, what should they do? Should they both pause and stop generating? In addition, there is a bullet on the full screen. Should the bullet and diet be hidden? So here, we select multiple objects in the drop-down menu. The object range is our object type in the physical world. As I told you here, object type refers to its icon. Since we select pictures here, it will delete all the pictures together. Therefore, if we select object types here for such a picture, both our meteorite plane and our bullets will be removed. And what do we want to remove here? Is to remove our meteorites and bullets that we generated. What should we do? Did you tell us before that we can use the custom ID method? So here we add such a content to it when we generate our bullets. We dare to call this side a bullet generated under it. The custom ID is also called E. In addition to bullets, we make our diet self-contained, define the ID, and set it. We also change the custom ID of the meteorite here to 1. What effect will this have? Can I clear all our meteorites and bullets as long as I select a common one with all custom IDs equal to 1 in our object range? So here we add another one to remove the current object, so that we can clear the custom ID in the picture type, that is, all our meteorites and bullets. What else should we do when the game is over? Should we start the game and display such an icon? Okay, then we will bump the plane into our meteorite side, and the action group that triggers the end of the game will be called. Let's preview to see the effect. Then we click here to start, and we will let our plane bump into our film and television. Why is there no effect after a long time of collision? Let's take a look at the plane collision. Oh, you can see that under such a plane, didn't I add anything? If no object is added, will it have collision reaction? No, so we forgot something. We need to add an object under the plane. After adding an object, it will have such a collision reaction. Here, in order to prevent the soul of the plane from going out of the body, we can turn off the collision reaction here, because we only use one of the collision effects in its event anyway. Then we'll take a look at the effect in preview, and we'll take a look at the preview. We can see that now if our plane hits our meteorite, it will start again. Then let's make a final change. When we trigger the end of the game, we go to reset one of our planes and return to its original position. So if the game is over, we will let our plane return to its original position. Here is to set a property of it. Let's see how much its original position is. The original position of the aircraft is 7867, so we set the end position to 67 of 78, and then we don't let it drag again. Change the drag direction to no. Since this is changed to not allowed, then at the beginning of the game, we will let our aircraft to reset to be able to drag in any direction, select our aircraft, and then set a property of it, and then change one of its allowed drag to be in any direction. Okay, let's take a look at the preview. Click here to start the black collision, and return to the original position. Then we can play a game at will. Okay, Finally, let's optimize a little bit of it. First of all, what are we doing with the first bullet and the first meteorite? We don't want to appear directly when we start the game, do we? The simplest way is to move it out of the screen directly, because anyway, we dynamically generate its X. Similarly, such a bullet is also dynamically generated, and we can move it out of the screen. Then in addition, such a plane takes one of its background colors, and we can empty it. Okay, let's take a look at it at the end. Anyway, it's outside the screen. When we open such a case in our mobile phone, because we can't see a plane flying over there, we can start to see one of the effects. Okay, we have finished the whole production of such a application. So in such a course, we not only involved in the movement of objects we have learned before, but also reviewed the triggers we used before and the operation of our selection objects. Therefore, this is a relatively comprehensive case, and we hope you can complete a complete practice by yourself and add a bit of unique feature to make it your own aircraft war games. That's all about the physical world and collision reaction. Thank you for watching this section.